We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another fabulous setup day for football. We are here to talk about it and give you everything you want. I am Hamilton Mike Galetta, along with my partners in crime, the best on the Sports Box Network, Brian the Ranger Attard, Tony Quigley, and Anthony Amidio. Gentlemen, what's up?
Mr. Galetta, what's up, buddy?
I'm guessing you're having a decent morning.
I am having a decent morning. We will get into that game and get my opinion on that game, which will be interesting. But again, a great array of football again today. You can't ask for two better days of triple headers, back-to-back days. We will get into that. But first, Brian will give you a little bit of the starting lineup.
Thank you for joining the show today, guys. Make sure you check out our friends over at CrowdPlay. Use the Apple App Store, Google Play to download the app. It is free to play. Use code THEBOX at sign up. Get 10 free points. You can win cash and prizes by predicting the outcome of real and virtual sporting events, including playoff games today. So make sure you check those guys out. We appreciate them for sure.
Absolutely. Guys, I don't know if we had some close games yesterday.
Well, before you go there, Mike, I have a little bit of.
We have breaking news here on the Sports Box.
ESPN's Chris Mortensen this morning is reporting that Eagles head coach Doug Peterson's status is, quote, not firm. Owner Jeffrey Lurie could move on pending a meeting, and apparently it goes deeper than Carson Wentz. So we were led to believe, the last couple of days at least, that Doug was coming back. And now it doesn't seem to be as sure. So your thoughts?
So what happened between when we heard that him and Howie were safe till now?
I guess they had a meeting, and Lurie wasn't entirely enthused with the results of that meeting. But it doesn't. I mean, we've been speculating this could be a possible scenario for a while.
But listen, can anybody actually who watched Doug Peterson all season be impressed with anything? I mean, it's not just the meeting. I mean, from his offensive play calling to how he's handled certain situations to how he handled Week 17 debacle that really pissed off most of the people in the clubhouse. You know, to the whole Carson Wentz situation. I mean, from the beginning to end. I mean, Doug Peterson is looking a lot more like Barry Switzer and them lame duck Super Bowl winning coaches than he is, an actual legitimate coach. So, I mean, I think Week 17 and what he had going on there was just, one of the last straws that kind of put, his head on the chopping block.
Yeah, I agree, Tony. I think Week 17 really got this in motion, and I believe it's not surprising that this is happening. Like, he's bungled Carson Wentz's career so far, and Jeffrey Lurie cannot be happy with that. And they're in a mess, and the owner knows it. So it's coming on Doug.
I mean, from the play calling that we saw that was suspect to the whole thing that transfer over from Wentz to Jalen Hurts. It's just been a debacle in the locker room, and if in that last game, I think secured it too with a lot of guys getting upset that they blew that game. I mean, on purpose. I mean, you can say
from an ownership's perspective, when you look at it, like Peterson played the guys who wanted to had like Brandon Graham, who had incentives to reach. Like Brandon Graham wanted to get his tackles and stuff like that. From an owner's perspective, it's like, why are you playing? If you're sitting at your starters, you sit at your starters. You're not playing them so they can reach certain incentives to hurt my pocketbook. You know what I'm saying? So I can see Lurie being a little bit upset with that too. I mean, and a guy like Miles Sanders came out publicly and blasted him. And why did Miles Sanders sit out? I mean, so it's like the thing, like either you say you're going to try to win the game, and you play your guys. You can't come out there and, this lip service about that when you're sitting healthy players, and then you're just playing other guys just to reach their incentive number. That's not going to go over well with ownership.
No, and Tony, you're only down 3 points in a game that Washington's struggling in, and you put Nate Sudfeld in to get him playing time. You haven't played the guy all year. He hasn't gotten a snap. and you put him in a situation like that at the end of the year. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
If they came out and played Nate Sudfeld in the beginning of the game to the end of the game, I had no problem with it. If they came out and publicly said, see, now after the fact, they were like, oh, well, this was the game plan all along. That's what Peterson's saying. But no one said that before the game.
They did. They did. We knew coming into that game that they were going to play quote unquote meaningful snaps for Nate Sudfeld. I mean, I don't think there was any question as to what they were going to do. I mean, and I know we didn't do much football this week. I literally had zero issue at all with anything they did last week. You know, this idea.
If he came in at halftime, I mean, it would have been better.
But if you said that we know, I didn't hear the report, Brian, but if you said that the report was out there, then why is there such reverberation from the players?
I have absolutely no idea. Even Jason Kelsey said, yeah, everybody knew about that. He was going to play meaningful snaps. And let's just be honest here. Jalen Hurts had 72 yards passing in 3 quarters. Like, it's not like he took out, like, you know, Joe Montana or Tom Brady here. I mean, he was playing terribly. So I just think this is horribly overrated. And at the end of the day, the Eagles losing that game was the best thing possible for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's all that they need to worry about. Nothing about the Giants. They don't care. They're in it for them. I mean, again, they moved up from 9 to 6 by losing that game. That's the equivalent of the 68th pick in the draft.
Right. But, Brian, I'll tell you this, like you said, with Jalen Hurts was playing terrible. But don't you want to see, I mean, the evaluation for him, that's the 4th game you've seen of him playing in the NFL. Don't you want to see what he can do in a behind situation again in the 4th quarter, that he can try to come back and win? Don't you want to see what you have in your quarterback? I don't think a 3.5 game analysis of a guy that plays in the NFL is enough to warrant Nate Sudfeld coming in down 3 points at the end of a game. Like Anthony said, I was going to say the same thing. At halftime, you put him in, that's a whole different story. But you put him in a situation that you look like you wanted to lose.
Maybe they gave Jalen the 3rd quarter to try to fix it because he was looking so terrible, and then realized he wasn't going to. Okay, take him the hell out of there. They knew they were going to play Sudfeld that game. I don't
know coaches then. So,
but I don't think I disagree with Paul Allen's comment that the last game caused this, because I don't think so. And I also think that any talk of, resting the starters or whatever, I mean, that stuff comes from above. I mean, like they know there's no reason to win that game. And they know that they'll be better off.
Peterson's job has been in debate for weeks, not just because of the last game. It's been in debate for weeks, and
the players' response to this also. I mean, I guarantee the majority of the locker room feels like Miles Sanders. So behind the scenes, there could be stuff going on behind the scenes where the players just aren't happy or what went on, because it was flat out embarrassing right on national TV. So I think the players' response to this also has Lurie thinking differently, because he could easily lost the players. Easily.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's. I look back at it. I'm like, you know what? Win more games, and then we wouldn't have to tank at the end of the year. How about that?
Yeah.
How about don't suck, and then we wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. How about develop your franchise quarterback? Just do that.
I mean, Tony, any questions? Are you concerned about anything there? Like, as far as the way that game was played, are you really like, does it anger you? I mean, there are people that were like all over the league, like angry.
In regards to the week 17,
yeah.
Me personally, no, because you're not a player. I'm not a player. But I mean, if I'm looking at it from a GM and ownership perspective, I'm fine with that. I want the 6th pick, that 6th pick to the 9th pick. You could. Eagles aren't a team that goes out and drafts somebody like a Michael Parsons for their much needed linebacker. They normally tend to stay with offensive line and defensive line in that early 1st round. But be that as it may, Parsons would be a good fit, and he might not be available there at 9. So from that perspective, from a competitor's perspective, from an athlete perspective, obviously the Giants are going to be pissed off. You know what? They shouldn't have been tweeting the Eagles. They should have been tweeting Evan Ingram to catch the friggin' ball to win against the Eagles. So I mean, it's a difficult situation, because when you're normally talking tanking, it's more relevant in the NBA. Trust the process, that kind of stuff, because it lends itself to be more productive in the NBA. It's not hugely productive in the NFL as a whole, and you got guys playing for jobs and stuff like that, and they take it a little bit more personal, because football isn't a sport you could go out there and half-ass when you're on the field. It's not. You're going to get exposed. I mean, look at the joke the Pro Bowl is. It's unwatchable. And so they want to turn these guys into they want to keep their competitive edge. And when you're putting the pads on and you're going out there to play, or you want to see everybody give their best effort.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we'll obviously see where this turns out, but again, if he goes, it's not really much of a surprise. I've been very critical of everybody in that front office. Coach has to go, GM has to go. I mean, when you have this kind of a scenario there where the $100 million guy, you're looking to take him out before the contract, before the ink's even wet in the piece of paper, I think nobody really survives something like that. But
if the coach goes and the GM doesn't, that's going to be even worse. So we'll see.
I just don't see I don't see the point of the Mortensen report at this time. I mean, his status hasn't been firm for the entire season almost. You know what I'm saying? So it's I read that and I'm kind of like, no shit.
We'll start by taking a look back at yesterday's games. First and foremost, the Buffalo Bills with a 27-24 win over the Indianapolis Colts. And I think one thing we're going to remember about this game is some extremely questionable play calling by Frank Reich for the Colts. Spots where it's fourth down, you're going for it. There was a point in the game where they went for two for reasons I don't seem to understand. I thought Michael Pittman played a really nice game. I was really impressed by what he was doing early in that game. The Bills have 7 straight wins for the first time since 1990. Josh Allen, the first Bills quarterback to win a playoff game since Jim Kelly in 1995. But I got to tell you, as good as Buffalo has been, Indy could have had this game.
Yeah, I mean, you say questionable play calling and questionable decision making, Brian, and guess what? It wasn't questionable. You know why it wasn't questionable? Because of analytics, right? As soon as they boff some of these obvious, time held play calls about, let's just kick the field goal before the half. Let's just do this before the half. You knew what the reason was, and it was analytics. And in Frank Reich's press conference, he brought up analytics, and analytics is the reason why they're home today. I mean, if all they had to do was kick that gimme field goal before the half instead of going for it, and it's a whole different situation. It's a whole different game. Listen, I've always been a guy who's really embraced numbers and analytics from baseball years ago, doing, stats and everything like that. It's always, yards per carry, that kind of stuff. But there has to be a point where these coaches, and I can't believe they don't do it more, is they blend in the traditional football coaching and the numbers, because that's what it is. It's a mesh. Analytics have been a part of sports for a long, long time. But the fact now that they're saying, oh, well, you're down 13 with 3 quarters left to play, we need to go to 2 because of this, that. No, it's nonsense. They need to go back to some more traditional thinking and use the analytics. Numbers should be used. I mean, Brian, your finance, numbers should be used to help determine the situation, not just determine not make the entire call. If you do that, it's a cop out.
There's nuance. There's nuance to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a matter of, well, oh no, we're 1 yard away. I mean, to me, again, going for the touchdown at the end of the first half, I thought that was not necessary. I mean, you were actually moving the ball pretty well, especially on the ground at that point. So it wasn't as if you were having, like, you weren't going to get down here again. I mean, there was nothing that indicated that. But then the 2-point conversion try really made no sense. What, that 1 yard is going to make that big difference to you? I mean, you're literally overthinking the game. And I've been a Frank Reich guy. I blame a lot of the ills in Philadelphia on him leaving. And he did not coach a very good game yesterday at all. And I really think Buffalo's kind of lucky they got away with one, because I don't think that they really played their best game yesterday.
So yeah, I say the same thing with you guys about overthinking it. It's just like Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl. You got 1 yard to go. You had Marshawn Lynch all that time running. Then you throw a pass play to try to overthink stuff, and that's what happens. And the same thing with the Colts. I mean, that touchdown Brian's talking about that they went for it. I mean, you couldn't have a more worse play calling in those 4 downs. I mean, you ran the ball twice with Terry. You try to pitch out on 3rd down where they just annihilated you in the backfield, and then in 4th down you blew it. The 2-point conversion just still boggles me. You'd go up, and you'd go down 6 instead of going down 7. What is the difference? It doesn't make any sense at all. You got a kicker in Bass that's making everything. What are you concerned about? You concerned about him missing an extra point? I just think Frank Reich just got a little bit of a little bit of overthinking yesterday, and they had opportunities. I mean, Rivers came up small in a couple of his passes, rolling out, throwing over the middle, missing guys that were open, some drops there. Colts had this game. They could have played a little bit better. They had Buffalo on the ropes, and they blew it.
To Dave Cartwright's comment that you have up here, Brian, real quick. As far as place analytics, I think what these coaches are doing is they're using it as a cop-out. They're looking at their board and they could justify, the analytics said. It kind of takes out, like back, the fourth down call used to have some balls to it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this big decision to go for 2. It used to have balls because you were
Not
down.
anymore.
You were down, no, now it's just like, oh, well, analytics say do this and we're just going to do this. It's no balls. It's just, and if it doesn't work out, they blame analytics.
Well, but that's the thing. So what are you doing? What are you bringing to the table? You're just following your book. What the analytics say. Well, any idiot can do that. So what are you adding to the situation? Where is your value add if all you're doing is, the analytics say this?
Yeah,
my
really
function. What are you doing?
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have to have real game feel. You got to feel how the game is going. You got to be in time decisions. Like, it's just
momentum.
It's just off. It's off crazy. Like, the 2-point conversion was, I don't even understand it. Like, I can't believe he did that. I don't mind. I actually didn't mind them going for the 4th down before half because, listen, they're playing the Bills. They know that's going to be a shootout. You got to contain Josh Allen. I don't mind that. The 2-point conversion was just asinine. And, I mean, listen, the Colts were an 11-win team. Like, I totally expected it to be a good game. Like, they're a legit squad. So, I mean, yeah, it was a hell of a game. And they dodged the bullet with that fumble. I mean, we didn't even get into that. It was
the
crazy.
officiating left a lot to be desired as well.
Yeah, the Bills were dodging bullets all day. So it was a hell of a game. It was really.
It leaves you. It's a huge question, about that fumble. It's like, what are they actually watching? If you could look at that play and say that's not a fumble, you have to kind of question, kind of really what the big picture is going on here, to be honest.
They were saying that guy's hand was on his back, and it clearly didn't look like it, and he didn't give himself up. So you slide back up, and that you can't blame the guy for that. That's the player's instinct. He's going to try to get those extra yards.
Well, I don't know how you feel about this theory, but I've always said on replays like that are close or some kind of debate or whatever like that, I just think in my own mind, the officials don't want to overturn the call as much as they can, because if they start doing that, they're going to look dumb when they make calls and they keep overturning them. So they're going to try to keep them the way they call them on the field as much as they can, unless it's totally out of the question.
But Mike, that's why a few years ago they removed the on-field replay and made it a central location, because that's what was happening. They didn't want if us four were reffing the game, they didn't want you to make a call and then me go and reverse it, like you said. But then they moved it off. They moved it out of the stadium to a central location where they do all the reviews. And I think that is one of the reasons why they did that. It makes them look bad where if they make the call on the field, I understand, because it's a live play, it's a lot of action. We see 15 slow motion replays and everything like that. Completely different. But now we're questioning you by you replaying that from 14 different angles. And plus they have angles that aren't even really on the broadcast sometimes.
Right.
And you still get the call wrong. Right. That's where the question is.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make you harken back to like 20, 25 years ago when we didn't have any of this, and like you didn't have a question as to what was a catch and was the guy down, and I understand, like, you want to get the call right. I just don't think that the game is improved right now with this. And I think that when you can get to the granular level of zooming in the way they can and going like frame by frame, and you still get it wrong, and everybody around the world is seeing not even as good of an angle as you're seeing, and they can obviously see it universally, and you still get it wrong.
Makes you really think, doesn't it?
Answer my man Gerald's question here. Who's in those rooms? Yesterday it was Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and Ray Charles and Helen Keller. I mean, that's who was doing that. Three blind mice.
You're watching the game, and the announcers are even saying, I mean, the Colts were getting away with, it looked like to be delay of games all day.
Yeah.
There was so much going on in that game. I mean, you could have called them for a delay of game, at least as you could see it on TV.
Yeah, but see, the way those clocks work, though, They don't deal with the 10th of the second. So even though that clock hits 0, there's still actual time on the clock.
Yeah, it's still
that makes, because the way that there's a light that goes on when that's when it's violated. Yeah. So if that light isn't going on, there has to be tenths of a second left on there.
Well, there was also, Tony, the one play where actually they got it off. He threw a pass and then they blew it dead for a timeout.
Yeah,
and
was a huge play. That was.
I was like, how does that happen? How do you get?
I watched that. I remember the play you were talking about live, and the timeout was done before the snap.
Yeah, you saw.
I don't understand it took so long. I mean,
well, you seen them running down the sideline, banging the timeout. Why the refs aren't? I mean, it's not like there was stadium noise. You can't blame that. You know what I'm saying? Like they just
they had a decent amount of people there. But Dave Carr asking, what's the best system? To be honest with you, I think that you almost kind of have to have like the same person doing it, only because we all have our own take on everything, right? But at least if it's one, and I know it's hard to do when you have all games going on at like one time, like in the regular season. So I don't really know that that's even an answer, but no, I do think having a centralized location is correct. I think you need to have at least a very centralized team that's all that they do.
And voting.
You have to have consistency.
Hockey does it too. I mean, they go to Toronto.
Yeah, it's everything goes to Toronto.
I think the system that they have in place with the centralized location, I think that currently is better than what they had before. I just think that they need to actually implement it and just they just need to make the right call. Sometimes it's just like the obvious call.
It's bad when all the announcers in the booth think it's one thing and then they come out and it's the other.
and the official, Anthony, that they're talking to in there. So
let's give the NFL some credit though, because they have been fixing some of the rules they screwed up, like the pass interference last year. Thankfully that's not anymore. The time period, a couple years in the NFL, you didn't know what a catch was. That's kind of fixed now. You know what I'm saying? They kind of got back to a little bit more common sense. I mean, the Dez called it kind of thing. Like obviously he caught it. He caught the ball and took 2 steps and reached. I mean, that kind of stuff. They got away from it. They fixed it. They fixed Calvin Johnson caught the touchdown and put the ball down, and they're like, oh no, it's not a touchdown because he didn't say 4 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys while he had the ball in his hand. So I mean, when you're looking at it like that, they are improving. It's a little bit of a trial and error. But I think the system that they have in place is working. They just need to do a better job of it.
Well, I actually like what they've been doing. I mean, they've been calling less penalties. It seems like so. I mean, they're kind of, holding penalties were down this year. I mean, it's kind of they're getting out of the way. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you
what I want to see.
And we'll get into it with the Bucs game, but I'll tell you that the last touchdown Washington scored is kind of a definition of not a catch. I think the guy caught the ball. He made a great toe grab to stay in the end zone. But when he started to come out of the end zone, he went like that. It came, both hands you saw, and they said it, came off the ball and grabbed it again and went through the catch. Now, that technically isn't what they define as going through the catch, holding the catch, but they called it a touchdown.
Well,
it didn't change the game anyway, but I just think stuff like that that's something got to get right.
The craziest thing that I've seen in the last few years of watching sports is when the NFL actually changed the rules before the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl that the Eagles were in.
Yes.
That was that whole season. There was 3 catches, including the Corey Clement touchdown, that were not touchdowns.
Right.
Regular season.
Yeah.
And the NFL before this game actually came out and said that they're going to be reevaluating. And then here you come in the Super Bowl, and Corey Clement does the same thing. It wouldn't have been it wasn't a touchdown at all. In regular season, and now it's a touchdown. So it's kind of like, at least now we have a good grasp, so we know what a touchdown is, what a catch is, so I think the NFL is improving a little bit.
Even the touchdown in Pittsburgh where the tight end turned and made a move and they didn't call him in and he fumbled the ball.
Right. Yeah, it's just
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
If I'm a Bills fan, though, like I really have, I'm not super confident right now. I'm going to tell you why. Like Indianapolis, to me, lost this game a lot more than Buffalo won it. Indianapolis had almost 500 yards of total offense. They outrushed the Bills. They outpassed the Bills. They did not turn the ball over one time, no fumbles, no interceptions. They were over 50% on 3rd down. They owned time of possession, and they lost. I mean, that to me seems like this. I honestly tell you, I really feel this loss is at Frank Reich's feet. I think that the dumb calls at certain parts of this game were exactly what cost the Colts advancing here. As good as Buffalo has been, the Colts had them.
The Colts are a good team.
Yeah, I mean,
11 games,
listen,
man. They were a good
no
team.
one's going into that game thinking that the Bills are going to outrush the Colts. I mean, that's what the Colts do. I mean, especially in the last few games, how they have Jonathan Taylor on track. I mean, that's not surprising. The biggest thing that came out of this is, yes, we know there's holes in the Bills defense, but Josh Allen is a playmaker.
Yeah.
And getting Steve. We did a show the other night, Brian, when we talked about the best GMs, and I brought up Brandon Beane as the best GM. Just getting Stephon Diggs to open up that offense, and you see how it is. And they have All Pro Cole Beasley, All Pro. Say everybody say that slow. All Pro Cole Beasley. I have no idea how that happened. He got one vote, and he's second team All Pro. I mean, he kind of makes you giggle a little bit, but you know. I think we going in, we knew it was going to be a tough game. It was a tough game. And this is a game last year that Josh Allen would have lost. And him pouring out, making the plays, you see the progression.
Yeah, his arm talent is incredible. The way he's throwing the ball. I mean, he's rolling to his left. That play, he rolled to his left and threw it along the sidelines for a big first down. I forget when it was really, but it was just an incredible play. I mean, he was making plays with his legs. I mean, he's the real deal.
Well, the touchdown he got with it's kind of a Tebow Cam Newton play that they used to run in Florida a lot with the fake run, and it was a fake run. The announcers didn't call that right, where he hit was it Knox in the end zone, wide open. I mean, that's the typical. And I love that play for a guy like Josh Allen and other running quarterbacks in the end zone. You tuck that ball, you act like you're doing that power dive into the end zone or the off tackle. You normally have somebody wide open. I mean, Tim Tebow became the best college quarterback in history, largely because of that play. And more teams should really do it.
Yeah, it's a good play design. I mean, you give the quarterback like Josh Allen the option. I mean, to run it and to pass it. So it was a really good design.
Buffalo advances. They will face the lower seed in between the winners of today, and obviously the best seed, the lower seed will go face Kansas City. If I told you that DK Metcalf would have 5 for 96 and 2 touchdowns, you probably would have thought that was a good thing for the Seahawks against the Rams, given how Jalen Ramsey has blanketed him in games that they've played. But clearly not. And I thought the Rams would go in there and win. I thought they would do that with Jared Goff healthy. Now, before we get into the game itself, I want to go around the horn here. I, number one, was very, very surprised after watching pregame warmup that Jared Goff was not starting this game, number one. That made literally no sense. And then by the grace of God, and God help John Wofford, hopefully he's fine, he got put in by force. What the hell went through Sean McVay's head with this one? Because you can't lose this game. It's a playoff game. And your guy's throwing 60-yard bombs in warm-up. I don't understand. You talk about the analytics and overthinking. And I look back at this and I'm like, why did he not start?
I mean, I guess the only thing he could be thinking is that he got hot in the last game and he pulled him through that game, but he really didn't light the world on fire in that game. So, yeah, if Goff was ready to go and he's, looks pretty good in the warm-ups, why aren't you putting your number one guy in and kind of, it's a shame Wolford got hurt, but it actually, I think, saved them because Goff came in and played really well and really bounced the offense back to where they were comfortable and kept moving the ball down the field.
Gentlemen, go ahead, Nate.
I think it was a practice issue. I mean, obviously, Goff didn't practice all week, I don't think. And to be honest, I truly believe Goff was coming in that game at some point, even if Wolford does not get hurt. I believe Goff was ready to come in, and he was going to come in if there was any issues in that game. So yeah, I found it, like Brian said, I found it odd he didn't even start at all. But I really think that has to do with maybe practice. But I think he was going to play regardless.
And that's fine, but why do you even go that way? You know what I mean? Why do you say, all right, let's go with Walford, see what he can do, and if he doesn't do well,
I think McVay was messing with Seattle. I think maybe he was trying to just play some head games. Didn't want him to prepare for Goff, prepare for Walford. I mean, I think that was just McVay, playing games.
Gentlemen, plain and simple, this was a benching. That's what happened. He benched him. If you look at the comments that came out after the game about the discussion that they had, it was a benching, and it wasn't an easy decision for McVay. And I don't agree with the decision because Jared Goff I really liked the Rams. Give Brian a shout out too. On Wednesday, we both liked the Rams. We both thought Jared Goff would play, and the reason is I was high on him is because of Cam Akers in that running game. And Jared Goff's play action and stuff like that, it lends to it. But if you look at these last few games that he played, he's been off. He's been bad. I mean, the throw's been bad. The decision makings had been bad. I mean, it came out in the Jets game that Goff kind of went away from the plays. I know I criticized him after that game about 2 brain dead play calls, but from what it came out is it was actually Jared Goff making those, throwing a fade to Cam Akers and throwing to Gerald Everett. And really pissed off McVay. And, McVay had the opportunity he liked to see what he had in Wolford, and that's where he went with the game, went with it. And,
That's
Brian,
a huge gamble. That's a huge gamble.
well, if you see somebody playing poorly, you have to make the switches sometime. And I think McVay obviously, was comfortable with his situation and his decision, so the thing is, too, when you look at DK Metcalf and his game, I thought it was very, very interesting. The Rams changed. Listen, I think the Rams might have, one of the best defenses in the NFL, top 3 defense at that. But in past games, they had Jalen Ramsey on DK Metcalf, and Jalen Ramsey shut him down 28 yards one time, I think under 60 the next game. This game, Jalen Ramsey covered him only 7 times straight up. And when he does cover him, he had like three catches for like 30 yards or something like that. I mean, DK only had the really big pick, really big catch. But when Jalen Ramsey covers him, it's zero. There's no safety help. There's nothing. It's Jalen Ramsey on DK Metcalf. That allows the defense to do everything else. And they really wreaked havoc. And let's not forget, Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year, best defensive player in the last 5 years. Listen, he didn't play the second. Most of it was the second half, right? I think he got hurt
in the third quarter.
Third quarter, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He got hurt in the third quarter, so they didn't have Aaron Donald either. And that defense is still Floyd off the defense still really did a wonderful job containing Russell Wilson. And as we've seen in the past, besides that Super Bowl run, Russell Wilson kind of disappears.
Yeah, and the numbers, I mean, he was only 11 of 27 for sub 200 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I mean, their offense just as a whole just did not. I mean, not that the Rams necessarily did, but they ran the ball. They ran the hell out of the ball. But
Seattle defense played well. I mean, in the beginning, they were really keeping them in the game and keeping everything close. And, then the second half came around. So, I mean, they were tired.
Seattle's offensive line was overwhelmed all day. I mean, Russell Wilson really didn't have a shot. He was under pressure all day when he went back. Their offensive line struggled all day. It really hurt them.
Yeah, and that interception really electrified the Rams. Really got them going when they picked that pass off, and that was it. They were in the game. Yeah,
they were trying to force it to Metcalf after a little altercation on the sidelines, and that's what happens.
The Seahawks have just felt weird all year, so I don't really think any of us are surprised that this is how it ended for them. They got to figure it out because, again, they put a lot of assets into Jamal Adams, which has not worked out. The defense had been playing better the last couple of weeks. Don't know if that's scheduling or whatnot, but they need to really address that if they intend to keep this window open. I mean, Russell can't do everything. I mean, he can do a lot.
I think, Brian, they need some O-line help is what, like Anthony said. They got manhandled in that game. The receivers are fine. You got Lockett and DK Metcalf there. You got Carson had a good year. Predominantly pretty healthy most of the year. A couple games he was out, but predominantly healthy. The defense stepped up and played well for most of this game, being tired at the end. But, I mean, the O-line is something they got to address. They got to, in this year's draft, I think they really got to go O-line.
And in the report that came out today, Brian, I don't know if you saw it about Jamal Adams, who Seattle gave away everything for. Now you have a safety who's an in-the-box safety that can't cover anything, who needs surgery on both shoulders. He needs major surgery on both shoulders. So you have your hitter, your tackler. If Jamal Adams isn't out there hitting, he's worthless. He's worthless. If he can play in the box, he's worthless because he can't cover. And now if you have two bum shoulders, that's a bad recipe.
You took a big shot on a guy, and now that's happened. That's a recipe for disaster right there.
The Rams will visit Green Bay unless the Bears win today. If not, they will visit the New Orleans Saints because Tampa Bay Buccaneers took care of business. They went into Washington, D.C. against, what's that, their fourth-string quarterback? I don't even know. They a 31-23 win over the Washington football team. I will tell you, the quarterback played better than I thought he would for the Washington. I mean, Taylor Heineke was he was like dropping really good throws. And I'm like, where the hell's this been? And there was a spot in that game where you're like, something really going to happen here? I mean, I don't know if you really ever thought that they were going to win that game. I mean, the defense is very, very good. They're a quarterback away. But Mike, listen, you watched the game. Your team got their first playoff win in a very, 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 very long time. What's your thoughts coming out of it?
I got two concerns. One, and this is going back a couple years now, the secondary is definitely suspect again. I mean, a lot of young guys back there playing well in the beginning of the year. The last 5 games, Brian, they have played, I'll say, dreadful. They haven't covered. And number two is they took their foot off the gas. They had Washington right where they wanted them at 18-7 and really rolling in that game, really controlling the ball and really doing what they wanted. And they took their foot off the gas, stopped pressing. How do you not keep blitzing on a guy who, you want to beat him through the air? He beat him through the air in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they went right down the field on them. And I was concerned when they were only down 8 points. I'm like, this kid better not get rolling again. He came back in. He probably got shot up, and they put him back in the game because he had to play. I got a little concerned that they took their foot off the gas on a team like this, and that secondary is a little shaky. Now, if they play Green Bay or play a team that, is not going to take their foot off the gas, they are definitely in a lot of trouble. And listen, Tom Brady in the second half came up a little small too. He was incompleting passes and trying to go deep and trying to do the stuff they did. Listen, just play a nice game, get the ball moving down the field, and they stopped doing that.
Yeah, their defensive backfield is definitely an issue, Mike, going on, especially if they have to go up to Green Bay and play, or any of these teams really that are throwing the ball around the thought Leonard Fournette looked good. That was a good sign. Yeah. He ran the ball really well. I mean, offensively, the Bucs are going to be there. It's just it's how if that defense could hold.
Yeah, you got Cameron Brate involved. You got guys that haven't been playing all year involved, and they played well. But you can't leave Carlton Davis out there by himself. I mean, you saw what happened with Tyreek Hill. I know Tyreek Hill's a special receiver, but you can't leave him alone. You got to give him some help, and he can't cover guys by himself. They'll torture him in games. Yeah,
and I mean, they were really blitzing. Hank, how do you say his name? Heineke.
Heineke.
They were blitzing him, and he was reading blitzes, and like Brian said, he was making really good throws against these blitzes. Like, I mean, he played pretty fearless, and it was pretty impressive. I was shocked.
But I think when you saw, Anthony, when they were bringing Sue off the end and Pierre-Paul on heavy coverage, and then bringing David up blitzing through the middle, he didn't know where to go. And that's what they stopped doing. And the announcer even said that they're stopped blitzing. They're backing off, and they want to beat him through the air. Well, he went right down the field on him. So why wouldn't you as a defensive coordinator say, I got to start blitzing this kid again because I got to get him off balance? And they didn't do that. It's scary.
Well, all the negative you guys are talking about of the Bucs did. I mean, let's sit back and just enjoy the beauty of sports for a second. I mean, you got a guy like Taylor Heineke out there. I mean, taking over for Alex Smith. So when you're taking over that, you put Taylor Heineke out there. I mean, he's out there running around making plays. Look at the positive that the Bucs are doing. They absolutely shut down the running game. If teams cannot run against you in the postseason, then that's a good part. That's a good recipe for success. And Antonio Gibson was a non-factor. McKissick, all these guys, they were a non-factor. And you have to give credit for them stepping up and shutting that down. As far as Brady, I mean, I can't see anybody complaining about Tom Brady in that game. I mean, he slanged the rock for 380, 2 touchdowns. I mean, for a fan base that just had to watch Jameis Winston throw 35 interceptions, was it?
Yeah, 35. Yeah, 30.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's performance in the playoff game is something that should be lauded, especially with Godwin dropped in the ball almost every time he could. A one-legged Mike Evans. There you go. On cue. Godwin 5 drops.
Got Antonio Brown,
and
Cameron Brate. I mean, yeah.
Well, Brate's a great tight end. Yeah. He always stepped up and does well. And Gronkowski was nowhere to be found, except was strong in the running game. So, I mean, when you're looking at it like that, I think defensively, yeah, you have to. They were caught by surprise by how well this kid played, because I don't think anybody really saw that coming, that performance. So I think they probably play. Their defense was vanilla, so to speak, and I think it's just one of them games you just survive in advance, and you really hope that close your ears, that New Orleans wins and you can play them 3 times, and I think that's what you want. If I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I want to see New Orleans. I want to beat them, and then you save Aaron Rodgers for the NFC Championship game.
They did run the ball well in this game, all things considered. Tampa Bay did, but I really think that we kind of all had our questions about how would they incorporate Antonio Brown into an offense where you already have very, very good receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and the tight ends that you throw to, and there's only one football. But to his credit, nice game yesterday. I mean, again, he only had 3 targets. He caught 2 of them, 1 for a touchdown. He seems to have filled his role, like found his niche in the offense. And Brady, and they even said on the broadcast, which was kind of weird because Mike Tirico was apparently not in the stadium, so he was calling things 8 seconds after they actually happened, but neither here nor there.
Listen, Antonio Brown's been on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I mean,
that's scary. Look at on the other side, and you're like, oh shit, Antonio Brown's on this side. It's don't forget about how good he was and how good he is. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, this was a very good Washington defense that Tampa Bay torched. I mean, let's just call it what it is, and that was the difference in the game because they didn't cover. I mean, I didn't think people thought they'd put up 31 on that defense, the way that defense is played.
I think Washington would put up 23. I'm more surprised Washington put up 23.
People were asking about the over in this game, and I said I wouldn't touch the over. I mean, because a lot of people were like, should I take the over? Should I take the over? Over under? I'm like, I don't have confidence that the Redskins could score over 10 points.
Agree.
And you have to give them credit. They did a great job too. I mean,
especially when you heard Alex Smith wasn't playing. I mean, that's
well, we knew Alex Smith wasn't playing on Wednesday, so. But that's neither here nor there. But as far as you have to realize these guys on the other end of the game, and Chase Young, give the Buccaneers credit because he was silent. I mean,
we're really put him in check. Yeah.
Well, listen, they gave him a lot of attention. And there's other studs on that line, and they did hold him in check after he called out Tom Brady. I guess he won't do that again. But you know what? These guys are professional players, and they're in playoffs, and the Buccaneers have been, the Redskins have been playing good enough football to get them into that position. And now we're where we're supposed to be with the Buccaneers moving on.
Redskins are close.
Quarterback.
Yeah, they're close.
Maybe they should go spend a first-round pick on one. Oh, wait.
A Deshaun Watson quarterback away, right?
They'd be in the market for sure.
Yeah.
So taking a look at the 3 games we have today. The first game at 1:05, the 11-5 Ravens visit the 11-5 Titans. Ravens laying 3.5 on the road. Over under is 54. Week 11 of this year, the Titans defeated Baltimore 30-24 in overtime. Baltimore is a different team in the playoffs. They're only scoring 14.5 points a game in the 2 playoff games Lamar Jackson has played, 30.6 points per game in the regular season. These 2 teams played last year. That was supposed to be the Ravens' coronation to host the AFC title game, and Tennessee went in there and punched them in the mouth, and they walked out of there with a win last year. So the Ravens owe them one. This is the 5th meeting in between these 2 teams in the postseason, and the road team is 4-0 in the previous 4 matchups. Quigley, the thing that always pops out to me, or at least my read on Baltimore, is that they're not really a team that is designed to come back in games. If they're ahead, they're fine, but they're not really built to score points in bunches for most of the time. So that's important that they got to an early lead. Given the fact that they've struggled now with this team, what's your read coming into this one?
Well, I mean, both of these teams are designed to not play from behind. I mean, if you're playing from behind, that play action that Tennessee loves to do doesn't work. In the back end of their secondary, I would actually think that Tennessee is more in danger of getting behind early, and that negates Derrick Henry more, because when you look at it, I believe Marlon Humphreys is playing today, and that shores up the Ravens secondary. AJ Brown's been nice, but I mean, you don't want Tannehill dropping back and throwing the ball 40 times to try to beat you. You don't want that with Lamar Jackson, obviously, either. But when he does it, they're making plays, running around the field, and Hollywood Brown's actually been catching the ball the last few times. Mark Edwards kind of seems like they got that ironed out from their early and midseason ills, and that Tennessee secondary is dreadful. I mean, it's one of the worst in the leagues. So if there's a game that the Ravens have to come back, I think it's this game. And I think it's very important to see what team gets out front first. And another thing too, and I think Harbaugh and Vrabel are two of the better coaches in the NFL. It's kind of funny, they kind of almost got in a fist fight after the last game. There's a lot of shit talking and stuff like that. You have to keep your composure if a team, if there's a defensive touchdown or something like that, and a team falls behind 14-0 real quick or something like that, they just need to keep their composure. I think both of these teams will do that. And that's where it comes down to. It's going to be a great game. Probably it is definitely my favorite game to watch today. I mean, you get to watch Derrick Henry, you watch Action Jackson. I mean, listen, this is going to be a fun game. It's the first game of the season. Dez Bryant could be a huge. Dez didn't have any catches last week, which I was a little disappointed in, because everybody loves Dez, but Dez didn't have a touchdown last week. But I know, because I had Dez in FanDuel, and if Dez did anything last week, it would have been the difference between winning $25 and winning like $140. But the game here, when you break it down though, right? You're going to have the Ravens who want to attack the edge. They run that fly sweep with J.K. Dobbins. They run the counter with Lamar Jackson. Orlando Brown Jr. pulling out, trying to kill people on the pull. It's going to be that kind of team of attacking the edge. And when you look at Tennessee, on the other hand, you're running the I formation. They're running the power lead, halfback draw with fullback. I mean, how many teams in the NFL run with a fullback? But that's how they're going to attack Baltimore, down the middle. Ray Lewis isn't there anymore. I like Baltimore in this game. I bought the hook, and I'm laying 3 on them. I like them that much. I think Lamar Jackson gets over that hump, and I think vilifying him for being 0-2. I mean, listen, it's his 3rd season. Why don't you celebrate the guy from being in to get to the playoffs in his first 2 years? Instead of vilifying him. I think Jackson breaks the hump. I think Ravens win, lay to 3 by the hook.
Yeah, this game is going to be so fun. I'm excited to watch it. I'm glad it's coming on first. I mean, this is like the Tennessee Titans. They match up well with the Baltimore Ravens. Tennessee, I know, like we said, secondary not good, but Baltimore, they don't really throw the ball well. That's not their game. In Tennessee, they could stop the run, so they match up well with them. And Ryan Tannehill is playing some football. Like, over the last year and a half, he's like a top 5 quarterback. So I don't take anything for granted with him, because he's just a gamer. So I'm really excited to see what happens in this game. The way, if Baltimore can't run the ball, or if Tennessee can contain them, I think Baltimore is going to have a tough time. I like Tennessee with the hook, 3.5.
Yeah, I'm on the Anthony bandwagon. I like Tennessee in this game too. I think, in a way, if you look at the Baltimore defense, passing defense, they are phenomenal. Shut down passing. It's nice though. Shut down passing wise, they're phenomenal. But in the way of the run, they're pretty average. And I think Tennessee's blueprint for them is going to be run. A lot of Derrick Henry today. Actually, these two teams are both rushing offenses. I mean, they both have the top rushing offenses in the league. So Baltimore is going to be the same way. I just think Tennessee has a little bit more of a blueprint for Lamar Jackson, how to slow him down and how to slow that Baltimore team down. I actually like Tennessee to win the game. So for me, Tennessee getting 3.5 is a no-brainer. It's going to be a hell of a game. I even like the over in this game too. I think it's going to be a little bit of a high-scoring game for both teams, because because Tennessee's like I said, Tennessee secondary is trash. But I like the over, and I like Tennessee to win the game.
Over 72 yards by Lamar Jackson. I got that bet in too.
Lamar Jackson is the 5th reigning MVP to get a playoff rematch against a team that beat them the previous year, but the MVP lost each of the previous 4 such matchups. I got to tell you, I like Tennessee at least to cover, if not to win the game. I'm not a huge fan of Tannehill, but I'll tell you, I mean, when they need to throw, they do. I mean, they have some weapons on the outside. I mean, A.J. Brown's been very, very good when he's played. They beat him last year in a much tougher spot. I think a worse Tennessee team beat a better Baltimore team last year than we see today. On the road in a worse spot with people there. Like it's just a whole different thing. So for me, I'm going to go with Tennessee here. I have some more breaking news coming out of ESPN, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the little button real quick.
We have breaking news here on the Sports Box.
More Report on Fire today is confirming the reports that Deshaun Watson is very angry with the Texans for not interviewing Eric Bieniemy. He may push this far enough to request a trade. He has a no-trade clause, however, on that new deal that he signed. But informed sources say he would consider Miami in a deal that would send Tua to Houston with some other things. So talk about situations deteriorating quickly. This is not good. And if you're the Houston Texans, I mean, if you told the guy, listen, we're gonna involve you in our decision making in the front office, and then you choose not to do that, what do you expect?
Yeah, they lied to him. They straight lied to him. It's pretty much slap in the face. You pretty much expected. Like this is just, yeah. And I mean, Miami's a team that has all the assets. So if anybody could do it, it's Miami. And if you're Houston, you have to consider it. Scooping up all those assets, get something back, and start all over again. It's going to be interesting how this plays out.
There's no way that I would even entertain Tua for Deshaun Watson.
No, in a larger deal. I'm not saying.
I know, but I'm saying if I'm trading Deshaun Watson, who was a top 5 quarterback this year, he looked phenomenal on a horrible team. If I'm trading him, my quarterback solution isn't going to be Tua in return. It's going to be a lot more. Obviously, they'd want their pick back. They'd want Miami's pick. They'd want a whole bunch of picks, and I don't see a benefit of it. And I think Deshaun Watson, he's kind of overplaying his hand, and he's just kind of huffing and puffing a little bit now because I think it's an excuse and a way to get out. He's citing that the Houston Texans' insensitivity, social justice, and certain things. That all well may be true, but he still played the entire season, under these parameters, wants to be consulted by this, that, and the other thing. And, what has he shown that he needs, as far as like he deserves to be consulted by that? Like, I mean, he's a quarterback in the NFL. He's not equipped to hire a GM or hire a coach. He's a quarterback. So I think when they all get together, I mean, for him to be mad that they hired a GM who has great credentials from a great organization or the best organization in the last 20 years, to be mad at that, it just seems like he's just found a reason to argue, and that's it.
They shouldn't tell him then. Then don't tell him. I mean, that's
you don't know how that conversation came to place too. I mean, it's just so I think he could believe it. And Frank brings up a really good point too, right? Deshaun Watson is under contract. Deshaun Watson's contract is huge. It is absolutely huge. So if a team's going to trade for him, I mean, I'd really be shocked. Like there was talk about Jacksonville trading for it. Listen, Jacksonville trading the number 1 pick for him. Listen, I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence on their rookie deal because we've seen how effective rookie deals are. Sure. Because if you could get a stud quarterback on a rookie deal, that elevates your team that you won't even believe. I mean, and to pay Deshaun Watson $144 million, I wouldn't take that risk if I was a young franchise. Mm-hmm. Miami to make a deal like that, they're really they're looking to blow things up real quick.
I think the issue was that they actually told him he would have a little bit of say in some stuff when he signed that deal. But listen, I'm at a point where the same thing with LeBron in basketball. When anything happens, they go to him for something and stuff like that. I just think the players should do their part, and that's it. But Deshaun Watson complaining and doing this and that, I don't think that looks well for if he does get traded to somebody, how he's going to act with that team. But that's just the way it is.
The LeBron comparison, I think, is off base because it's such a different sport. And
Plus he's different. He's bigger in the NBA than obviously Deshaun is to the NFL. So
next up,
before you move on to that game, as far as you brought out the stat about the reigning MVP losing. Here's a stat for you. When's the last time a 2,000-yard rusher won a playoff game?
Good question. Probably not that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it earlier. I can't. Only one guy. It was like one.
Exactly. Not Adrian Peterson, not Chris Johnson, not Jamal Lewis, not Barry Sanders, not Eric Dickerson, not O.J. Simpson. The only one who did it was Terrell Davis.
Wow.
1998.
When arguably, really, that was an Elway team. Like he had a lot of yards, but it wasn't like they were built necessarily for him.
Wow. Only 22 years ago.
Yeah. Next up, the 4 p.m. game. The Chicago Bears.
That Bears.
8 at the New Orleans Saints.
This game is not important.
Saints laying an even 10 in this one. The over-under is 48. In Week 8, New Orleans went into Chicago, won 26-23 in overtime. From the Saints' perspective, Drew Brees is 5-0 with 10 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Bears over the last 10 years. Word out of Chicago today is that without a deep playoff run, which you can decide how to determine what deep really means if you're the Bears, Mitch Trubisky will not be brought back. So, Tony, I'm going to start with you here on this one. It's your team. Look, they're a 10-point underdog. I don't think that anyone's going to say, hey, we would like the Bears to win today as a result of
the hook.
10-point underdog. They went up. Okay, there you go. In a weird way, they started out hot, cooled off, won games at the end, still found a way to back in because they did lose the last game of the year to the Packers, and then the Cardinals decided they were the Cardinals again. What are you even looking for today? I mean, I don't believe you expect them to win today.
Actually, one more thing, Anthony. It's 11 now.
It's 11.
I'm not
It's 11.
surprised. It's all right. It's okay. Listen, I'm a fan. I'm always rooting for them to win. I'm excited. They're in the playoffs. I mean, I wait for it all week. It's fun. But I'm realistic. I'm just looking for them to, just to play a hard game and to show up defensively. I mean, to be honest, I've been down on their defense. I mean, they haven't been playing that well. Now they lose their best player on defense, Raekwon Smith. They're missing their rookie cornerback who's played really well all year. I don't believe he's playing. They're missing another guy in the backfield. So the odds against them defensively it's not with them today. And I mean, listen, they're going to have to play a perfect game, and I don't see Mitch doing that because the Saints defense is that good. I mean, really, they're going to have to play keep away. They're going to have to pound the ball with Montgomery, find a way. That's the only way I feel they'll be able to win today is if their running game and their defense shows up. And like I said, I haven't had faith in their defense lately.
It's a very easy formula for the Saints and actually the Bears too. And I think this is one of the worst matchups the Bears can have in the playoffs when they get there.
Yeah.
Reason being is you brought up defense. Jacob Pytel in the comments brings up defense. It's the defense. I mean, listen, Raekwon Smith should have been an All-Pro. I mean, he was just phenomenal, and losing that is just completely. It's something that you can't simply overlook. My man J Rock's here. Listen, J Rock, give me some recommendations. I'm starving. I need a good lunch spot. Give me your lunch recommendations today, J Rock. I appreciate that. Just want to throw that in there. I see J Rock in the comments. I need lunch recommendations. Haven't eaten yet today. Ate once yesterday. I need to get some fuel for these games today. So hit me up, J Rock. But no, really, listen. This Bears defense, it plays pretty much just cover defense. It doesn't blitz.
No.
And what you've seen, Mike, and unfortunately you had a great view of it, is when the Saints played the Bucs that second time and the Saints absolutely destroyed them, the Bucs didn't blitz them. And when you do not blitz Drew Brees and make his life hell, he sits back there. You're going to run cover. He's going to sit back there. They're going to motion Kamara out the backfield, who I like. Kamara total yards, rushing, receiving over 102 yards is what I'm on, if anyone wants to know. So when I'm looking at that, they got Slant Boy back, right? Mike Thomas is back.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is going to have plenty of time to sit back there and pick that off because they don't blitz. The Bears just don't blitz, and it's unless they really change their game plan from what they've been doing all season, and and go for it. It's going to be a tough one. I'll take the Saints. I'll even lay the 10, to be honest with you. I just don't think this is a game that bodes well for the Bears matchup wise. Saints defense is too good. They're going to stop the run. No trust in Mr. Trubisky, and it's just a bad matchup defensively.
Mike, we've noted on our show the Saints in the playoffs, historically, at least in recent years, have been kind of a disaster, right? You lose that game to the Rams a couple of years ago after barely beating a really average Eagles team, which should not have been there, Anthony, because your kicker can't make a field goal. Then last year, they get the Vikings at home. They find a way to lose that one too. So if there's anything that's in the Bears' favor, although I guess not. So the last time we've seen either of these teams in a playoff game was a total disaster for both teams. It doesn't seem that. I mean, the Saints can't lose this game, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, I don't think the Saints lose this game. I think, like Anthony said, the Bears are really kind of almost limping in this game with a lot of guys missing, and especially Roquan Smith. He's a big part of that defense. I think the Saints are really going to put the hammer down today. I do like Tony's bet with the Kamara. I think Kamara's going to have a big day today, and they're going to mix it up. They're going to, get Michael Thomas again involved, and they're going to get some guys involved, and they're just going to go up and down the field. I think it's going to be a pretty simple game for New Orleans. I think though Chicago can score a couple points, but they're not going to be able to keep up with the Saints. I think the Saints, even given 11 is a lot of points, but I'll take the Saints today because I think they just put the hammer down. They have to today. They got to show that they're the team that's going to be messed with in the NFC, and I think they do it today.
As a Bucs fan, you would love to see a Bears win today.
I would love to see a Bear. They would get a home game against the Bears. I would love to see that. But
that and you get to
also realistic.
No, they wouldn't get a home game against the Bears.
No, they wouldn't play the Bears. They would actually then go to Green Bay.
Oh, okay.
But
I apologize.
The last time we saw the Bucs play against Green Bay, they won that game. The last time we saw the Bucs play against the Saints, they got their asses kicked on national television in a very, very big spot.
Listen, give me a pissed off Tom Brady going to New Orleans instead of pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
I don't feel confident that the Bucs are going to do what they did to Green Bay before. I think it's going to be a little bit different. But
let me ask you a question about this because the Bucs defense, in that Saints matchup, if it does come to be, I mean, like I just mentioned, they didn't blitz. They played very vanilla against that Saints, and Drew Brees picked them apart. How do you guys feel about these coaches taking interviews now during the season? I mean, Raheem Morris is interviewing with what is it, the Colts today, I believe it is, or tomorrow. Raheem Morris is interviewing with the Colts today or tomorrow. I mean, not the Colts. Who the fuck did I say? Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Today or tomorrow. Like, I mean, should he be worrying about an interview instead of worrying about his next matchup coming up? And if it is the Saints, I mean, come on now. I mean, you're looking at Drew Brees or Rodgers. You shouldn't be worrying about that. I don't care if it's a Skype interview or anything like that, or if it's on friggin' OnlyFans. You should only be worrying about your next opponent.
Proud Bears fan, Brian Flood there.
He's not a Bears fan. Come on,
he's
Brian.
Not a Bears fan. Hey, listen, take all the Bears unders today. Mitch Trubisky passing, Montgomery rushing. Just take the unders today. I can't see them. I can't see them doing much. I mean, if they score 17, I'll be happy.
Tony, do you want to say it or me? Life's too short to take unders.
No, I just appreciate Anthony not being a cheerleader like a lot of people are for his teams and has a great perspective and reality of his teams. Listen,
would you take a 4-touchdown drubbing today if it guaranteed Mitch wasn't back next year?
Oh yeah, I mean I don't feel he's coming back anyway. But think about it. If Mitch Trubisky's he's playing for his career today. I mean he's playing for a contract. So who knows? Who knows? He's got to play his best game to date.
I think Mr. Trubisky earned a contract somewhere. I mean, if you already have Dwayne Haskins looking to join the Panthers and stuff like that, Trubisky is going to get an opportunity somewhere. Just be careful what you wish for. I mean, you're saying you want to get rid of Trubisky. Well, you guys played good enough to get you in the playoffs at this point. I understand why you want to get rid of him, but who do they bring in? And that's one of the things when that guy in the corner up there starts bashing Dak, right? Give me a solution. Give me a solution. You want to get rid of Dak? Okay, I can see the reasons why. But what are we bringing in? And you're going to get rid of Dak to bring in Mr. Trubisky? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Be careful what you wish for because
All right, so I just want to report
the recommendations.
You were looking for a lunch recommendation. Apparently, we have inside sources with the walk and roll.
The walk and roll, everybody. Yeah, I know where that's at. Yep.
You can't do Chinese on Sundays. That's sacrilege.
I don't need Chinese people,
especially midday.
If you tell them, but you got to tell them, Jeremy. That's where you get the extra.
Oh, the extra.
You do that midday, Tony. You'll be messed up for the Pittsburgh.
Last time I ate Chinese was a couple roommates in college.
Wow.
Shout out to that story.
Very nice.
Appreciate that.
Last but not least, tonight's game at 8:15, the 11-5 Cleveland Browns visit the 12-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers laying 6 in this game. The over-under is 47.5. In Week 6, Pittsburgh completely demolished the Browns, 38-7. Last week, Cleveland against Pittsburgh's second-and-a-half team just won by 2, 24-22. The last time the Cleveland Browns won in Pittsburgh was Week 5 of 2003 when Baker Mayfield was 5 years old. So, it's not a good spot for the Browns. Kevin Stefanski will not be coaching today due to some COVID concerns, obviously, and that's been ripping through that team this week at a horrible time, by the way.
Yeah, for that to happen this morning.
Totally
I think this morning. I heard.
Their first playoff game since 2002. There's Ghost Rider Go Pittsburgh Steelers. I know he was asking me about this game for a while. I think literally everything is against the Browns in this game. I mean, Pittsburgh is 35-7-1 against the Browns since 2000. That's the most tied for the most wins of one team against another in that span. They have not won a playoff game in Cleveland since 1994 when this team won the Stanley Cup. That's how long ago it was. Fourth longest active streak in the NFL. Anthony, your read here because, once we get through the Baltimore-Tennessee game, I don't really see too much competitive football being played after that.
Yeah, this is a tough spot for Cleveland, and it's big to me. It's Big Ben versus Baker Mayfield. I have more faith in Big Ben. I think he'll come through. He's fresh. He's rested. I think that's big for him. And yeah, this is I like Pittsburgh here with the points here.
This game for me is a little bit disconcerting because of not having Stefanski, not having a completely healthy O-line, but Tino's out. I think this is a perfect spot. This would have been a perfect spot for Cleveland to go in there and use that power running game and beat up the Steelers. I truly believe that. If you get Myles Garrett coming off the edge, I mean, there's so many guys questionable for in this game, and it's a late game, so you're not going to get the full report. But and rough up Big Ben, it's going to help. But when you look at the injuries, let's go think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. There's no Bud Dupree, right? There's no Devin Bush. I mean, that's huge losses. Joe Hayden's out in the secondary too. So when you're looking at those losses that the Steelers have, they're big, especially when they directly match up to what do Cleveland has? 3 All-Pros on their offensive line. I think their center, the 2 guards, and the 1 tackle who is not the rookie all got All-Pro votes. So if they were healthy and everybody was at full strength, and you could say that about a lot of teams in the NFL right now, but without the whole COVID thing hitting them, it's just it's just a shame because I really would like the Browns in this spot. I like Nick Chubb over 72 yards rushing because I think no matter what happens, I think they're going to be effectively able to run the ball against the Steelers. Now it's the Big Ben versus Baker Mayfield that you were talking about. And Denzel Ward, I believe, is out for Cleveland.
Yeah, their back end is all banged up.
It's
it's
a shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ben makes a couple throws that Baker doesn't make, and that's the difference in the game. I'll take the Steelers. I'm not laying the points. I'm not touching it. The only bet I'm doing is Nick Chubb over 72 yards.
Yeah, I kind of like the Steelers as well. I think Cleveland's going to be really hurt coming in this game with the practice schedule they've had all week with the coronavirus. Guys, so many guys they have out. I think there was another new case this morning. I thought I heard. I mean, they're just like Tony said. I thought coming into this game, if there was no shutdown of their camp, I think that Cleveland would have something to prove. They'd be fired up with the 6. I mean, I'd like Cleveland with the 6, but I don't think it's in the cards for Cleveland today. I think that Pittsburgh goes in there or stays home today, does their job, and gets it done. I'll take Pittsburgh giving 6 as well. And I do like the Chubb over. Tony, that's a nice bet. Do you guys think this could be an under? Because I don't see how Cleveland's going to score.
Didn't you just say 10 minutes ago that life's too short to bet unders?
True, but I'm just trying to be realistic here.
I mean, you got go ahead.
I mean, I understand what everyone's saying. Pittsburgh's defense is a little banged up, but if you watch some of their games, I mean, the guys that's filled into those spots have played really well because they drafted so well. I mean, the guy replacing just drew a blank. What's his name is playing well. He's a rookie, so I like Pittsburgh's defense also. They're going to make Baker win the game. They're going to stop the run and try to make Baker try to win the game himself. That's how I feel.
Do you guys have any concerns about the reports that the Cleveland fan base is a little worried that the offense is not going to stick to the script of Stefanski as far as Baker Mayfield's scripted throws and really limited it and just staying with the power running game? Because I've been hearing all over everywhere that they're really concerned about the play calling today.
Well, who's calling it then? Who's going to change? Who's going to change those plays? I mean,
was it special teams coach? I believe.
I mean, as far as rules, can the coach communicate at all during the game, even from
Probably
outside?
not. I can't imagine.
I don't listen. It's really ridiculous that he couldn't go into the booth somewhere and call the game from a box by himself. I mean, with all the technology, I mean,
Yeah, agree. There's guys. There's guys in the booth up front calling the games anyway. Assistant coaches.
If you look what they did with Alvin Kamara in order to get him just to watch they have they're using the NSA technology for decryption of the videos and stuff like that. So just so he could use. There's absolutely 100% ways that he could be involved in the game, and I don't know why that's not an option. But it's just kind of like, is there a disconnect on that coaching staff where everybody wouldn't be on the same page going into the game, where somebody would just say, "Hey, we're going to do this," and maybe it's just that they're it's a doomsday scenario where they're just thinking that if they think that they're just going to unleash Baker Mayfield, and it's just maybe they're just worried about it more than actual reality of it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do on offense.
Well, listen, Cleveland averaged 148 yards per game rushing. That was the third most in the league. Pittsburgh allowed the most rushing games in divisional games by eventual playoff teams since the 06 Colts. So from the standpoint of the game script, what they want to do, if they don't stay true to what got them here, they don't deserve to win this game. They are a rushing team. There was a period of 3 games in a row that Baker had no passing touchdowns. Like this is what has worked for them. So the idea that, yes, I think there is concern, but Stefanski better have his soldiers in line. And guess what? If somebody goes rogue today, they should be fired because this is what got them.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Don't be the smartest guy in the room. You know why you're here. You're here today because you ran the ball better than every team in the league except for 2. The 2 that are playing each other before you in Baltimore and Tennessee. There's a reason they're there too. So the strength of your team is your running game. Your first overall pick quarterback hasn't really played overly well. So do you really want to put him in the spot he has to go win a playoff game for you? Is that really smart?
Well, that's what really made me
down.
scratch my head, Brian, because like, why would they be even this consistent? Like, I mean, if we looked at, we go back to our preview, I was really big in the Stefanski hiring and what he could do, and I give him a lot of credit, and because he implemented his plan. If you have somebody now that just goes to they get to where they want to be and they just blow it to shit, I'd be extremely surprised. I love that comment and question from Frankie DeMayo. That's pretty hilarious.
Oh, wait, we have more inside information coming in for lunch.
Corrados, yeah.
Oh, no.
I had Corrados last night, actually.
Listen, if I do Corrados, if you want to do Corrados, this is what you need to do. You need to get the garlic parm tails, and then you need to get, they're phenomenal at Corrados. I don't do the pizza, but if you want to do pizza, you go with the charred grilled tails with mild sauce on them, and then you get the cheesy garlic bread pizza, which is a round pizza. It's about this thick, It's delicious. Best kept secret in Hamilton. Regular pizza, I don't do Corrados.
No secret here.
Hey guys,
garlic pizza.
Quick question coming in from my buddy Jordan Steven, who wants to know if he missed it. He apologized, but do we think there's 3 overs today again?
No,
probably
not. I think the Bears game stays under.
Well, and all the dogs covered yesterday too.
Yeah.
Those are dogs.
Which means this could be a favorite day.
No, I'm gonna say no.
For at least 2 games, I agree. Well, that's all we have for the playoff games. Abbreviated show today because there's not as much football to talk about. But anything on anybody's mind as football kicks off in roughly 50 minutes?
I think when everybody looks back and all said and done, I mean, the Cleveland Browns getting hit with the COVID at this time, I mean, the timing's obviously bad, but I think with the way the NFL handled the situation where people thought that, it might not play and get through the season, I think that the NFL did a really good job, in regards to that. I mean, there's so many more, like when the NBA did it with their bubble, there's so many more working parts with what the NFL is doing than what the NBA is doing. And I think the fact that we're at this point in the season with, little issues, like I say, Cleveland got hit a little bit, Sixers got hit yesterday, you know what I'm saying? But as far as NFL, I think they did a pretty good job keeping everybody on pace.
Thank God for football.
Ain't there many games left, right? After today, what?
Yeah.
That's 11?
Mm-hmm.
I think, right?
Yeah. My Super Bowl's on my birthday this year, so I won't be watching the Cowboys unfortunately.
Well, it's because they have a quarterback problem. Hey, listen, how about that? At least in Dallas, they did fire Mike Nolan, as we've been asking for about 2 months.
Yeah.
Probably longer than that.
Yeah, I'm a little perplexed about the candidates that they're bringing in, though. You know what I'm saying? They're interviewing who's the guy that they said they're coming in for an interview, Brad? Do you remember?
The guy he was with McCarthy in Green Bay.
Right. But now
Joe Witt.
Yeah, but where's he at now? He's not in Green Bay. He's with
Atlanta.
Atlanta. That's right.
Because their defense was top notch.
That's what
right?
He's the secondary coach for the Atlanta Falcons. And the last time Mike Nolan was a head coach, I mean, not a head coach, a defense coordinator, he was a defense coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Now you bring in the secondary coach for the Atlanta Falcons. It's just giving me nightmares. I mean, when you're looking at with the Atlanta Falcons secondary, no one said, look, let me get that coach, It's
I'm saying Houston bringing in a GM from a storied organization that's had a ton of success, and Dallas looking. You know what? We're gonna find the diamonds in the rough, guys who just didn't have the opportunity to play well.
Hey guys, do we like overs and receptions today for Michael Thomas? 5 and a hook.
5 and a hook for Michael Thomas. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they don't play a ton of man coverage. They definitely don't play press man. So slant boys want to be opened up underneath all day.
Yeah.
I mean, and Emmanuel Sanders stepped up a little bit for them since he was out. And even if Drew Brees gets knocked out, as somebody commented that I don't know if they said they'd like to see it or that could happen. if Drew Brees gets knocked out, Taysom Hill still really fell.
Yeah.
He fed Mike Thomas a lot. So
It's gonna be a long afternoon, long late afternoon.
Would you still be hungry after the 4 p.m. game, or do you want to eat before that?
I don't know. I'll eat before that.
Well, listen.
I just want to see a good game.
There you go. Enjoy playoff Sunday for football. We'll catch you guys throughout the week. On behalf of Mike, Tone, and Quig, we'll see you next week for divisional playoffs. Take care.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.